Hi, welcome to Mini Math Lessons with Karen, and today we're going to just explore one activity because it's such a robust activity, I think. Really a great real-world application of proportional reasoning. So I'm using ClassPad.net for this, and this is the landing page. Free math software, does pretty much anything you could want to do with math. You can just start exploring. You don't have to have an account, and so you could use the activity that I've shared below in the link. You could use that just as is, not creating an account, but if you wanted to save what you did or maybe modify, add some questions, you do need to create an account. I highly recommend creating an account because this is such a great tool and it's free, so it's easy to do. You just click that button and get started. Let's go into the activity. So this is an activity that I think is very realistic. Students are going to be able to relate to it, and it's something they're going to need to use over and over again in their lives. It's basically you're trying to decide between different options for something you want to buy, and you're trying to find the best deal. And what does that mean, best deal? That's sort of what this is all about. It could mean different things based on, how is it your cash outlay that you have now, or do you not have money so you need things spread out over time? Are you only going to be doing it for a short period of time? So then what's your best deal? Those types of decisions, and using ratios and using proportions and using different ways of looking at the data to determine the best decision, best deal based on your goals is what this is all about. And so it's a simple problem on the front of it. It's basically 3 different plans for buying an online game subscription. And you have 3 different options of how you could pay for it. And you're trying to figure out the best deal. And on the surface, if students just looked at this and said, well, they're all paying the same amount, but then you really got to dive in and say, well, this one's over 6 months. You're going to do 3 payments. So it's really 3 times this amount. This is 4 times that amount, and this is 5 times that amount. But the number of months that you have the service is spread out, or that you're paying rather, is longer. You could choose this plan and pay for a year. What would that be compared to this plan for a year? So that's what we want students thinking about, is you don't want to make a decision based right now and think, oh, well, 6 months I'm doing less payments, this is a better deal. If you really look at the ratios and look at the proportions or possibly unit rates, then your decisions are possibly different. So that's how the activity starts. Here's your information, and then we're going to have them really think about what are the variables, what's changing in here, and what's changing is the number of months, obviously, and how many payments you're paying in each plan, right? The cost of each payment's the same, but it's how many of those are you making. So these are kind of your variables that they're thinking about. They're going to talk about the different combinations that they come up with. So a lot of this is kind of analyzing what's happening, right? So the first few things are analyzing. Here's where they're going to actually kind of start comparing the ratios. So they're going to be looking at the number of months to the number of payments. So that would be, for example, 6 to 3, 9 to 4, 12 to 5. And so then can we make a unit rate and compare unit rates? Which one, if you're basing on per month payment, which one's a better deal? That might be a decision. Which one's a better per year plan? All of those things come into play. So now they're really starting to look at the different ratios in different ways and compare. So you'll notice in this first section, they're doing the ratios, but then they're just going to look at plan 1 compared to plan 2. How did these ratios help you make a decision if you just look at those 2 plans? Then let's do plan 2 compared to plan 3. How does the ratios help you make a decision? Now we're going to change the representation, and we're going to go into looking at them in a table. So what if you have a long-term plan, like you're going to try to keep this subscription for a long period of time? So then does that change your decision? So now we're going to have them make a table based on this information. And it's very open-ended how they do it. They could do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, month by month, which means then if it's a 6-month plan, they have to figure out how much are they paying per month, so a unit rate. Or maybe they could say, 6 divided by 3, I'll just do every 2 months I'm making this payment, so I'm going to do plan 1 by 2 months, and I'm going to do plan 9 divided by 4, so they can really think about it. For me, and I'm just going to use it as my example, for me it makes more sense to look at the plans as they are spread out here. So every 6 months, I know that I have made 3 payments. So I'm going to do the plan 1 by 6 months. Plan 2, every 9 months, I've made these 4 payments. So I'm going to do it by 9 months, and plan 3. So for me, when I'm filling out the table, and this is where the nice open-ended is, they can make their own decisions. So 0, 6, 12, let's go up to 2 years. And so plan 2, I'm going to do 0, 9, 18. And what do I notice right now? Well, at 18 months, I could do a comparison right here between these 2 plans, right? Because they both have a number at 18 months, so that'd be helpful. And this goes to 27, so that doesn't help me with the 24. And then we end up with 36. Okay, so now let's look at plan 3, 0, 12. So I could compare plan 1 to plan 3 at a year out, right? But I'd have a harder time here because I don't have my numbers, so I might want to rethink how I'm doing my months. So 24 and 36. Well, now it looks like I have a plan. I can compare these 2 plans because they both have 36. Is there a way for me now to go back? So these are the kind of things we want them figuring out when they're doing their table. So I could actually make plan 1 go all the way out to 36 as well. So now I have a long-term 3-year comparison, which would be nice. So then how do they get these totals in here? Well, everyone is not paying anything at month 0, right? But at 6 months, I know in this plan I have made, and here's where the calculator is really nice, I have made 3 payments, each one at $28.95, right? So at 6 months, I have done $86.85. And over here, if we just look at plan 2, at 9 months, what have I done? Well, in 9 months, I've made 4 payments. So I've made more payments, but I also have more months. Oops. Sorry about that. $28.95. Now, I can't really make a comparison because it's a different number of months, but I can see that maybe this one, I'm spending an awful lot in just 6 months. I still have 3 more months to go, you know, things like that. So we're basically going to fill out this table. So, and what they tell them in this directions is cumulative total. So for example, if every 3 months I am paying $86.85 in plan 1, so then $86.85 times 2 would be what I would spend in the next 6 months, right? I think I said 3 months before. And I can continue to fill out my chart based on that. I'm going to pause the video real quick and complete the chart, and then we'll come back so that we don't waste time watching me complete the chart. All right, that was quick. Here's the chart, all done. And so right away, the table helps me see things in broad picture, like overall, long term, right? So if I just was thinking, oh, I'm going to do this for 3 years, then I can look at this common multiple, right? 36, 36, 36, and say, well, it looks like long haul, plan 3 would be the choice that I want. But what if I only want to go out a year? Well, 144 and 173, still plan 3. So is plan 3 always the right choice? And so those are the questions you want to be asking. You're going to be looking at, you know, ratios at that time, or what are you paying per month? Maybe a unit rate would be helpful. So how is the table helping us make maybe some different decisions than when we just looked at the ratios of the months and payments? So now we're going to come back down, and the next thing they're asked to do is look at a totally different representation and kind of compare the growth over time of each plan. And they're asked to basically make a graph. And what I wanted to point out here was they filled out this table here, however they decided to make their table. And there was another table down here with the same headings, and watch, because of ClassPad's connectivity, it filled out automatically, so they didn't have to do it again. Now, I could have just taken the table and slid it down, but it's nice to have both of them. Now we're going to use this one to do our last thing, which is let's look at the graphical representation of this. So they're going to basically graph each one as a scatter plot, and then also do a linear regression for it. So here, and I want to make sure the linear regression matches the plotted points. So here is a graphical representation of plan 1, right? So this is plan 1. And it's linear because it's going up at a constant rate. Every 6 months, we pay 3 payments that total $86.85. So that is our constant rate, correct? And so then you could ask about, what does this A represent in this regression? Well, that's our slope. And how is the slope related to our situation? Well, that's the unit rate. That's how much I am paying per month. So that's our goal here. So here's the unit rate. So if I look at just, let's say I only want 3 months, $14 and about 50 cents for the plan 1 if I pay per month. So let's go down and look at, let's look at the next one. So now we're going to do the same thing. So they're going to just graph each one. We're going to do and maybe you have them look at the scatter plot first for each one. And I think I did 2 scatter plots. I didn't mean to do that. And so here's the scatter plot of, let's move that out of the way, of the second one. So notice its rate is slower than the others, right? It's not exactly the same. Looks like we made a mistake there. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do a linear regression, and change it to also be green. And so is there a point where they're intersecting, and that's down here? Maybe we want to, you can zoom in and kind of see different points, and you can click on them and find a point of intersection. So here's the point of intersection. It's about 4.8 months. So remember, months down the bottom, we're paying $59. So if I only want it for 4 months, then either plan 1 or plan 2 would be a good decision. So these are the kinds of things that now that the graph allows them to look at as well, because we can look at specific points on the graph. You can actually take a point, put a point and move it on the graph and find some common points, or kind of see where one crosses the other. So right now, to begin with, let's say you only wanted to do it to 2 months, the blue one seems to be your choice if you only want to go for 2 months, right? So all of this is much easier to see when you're looking at a graph, and maybe you had some idea in the table. So different representations help you make more detailed and concise decisions, right? So let's just look at the last one real quick. So again, let's do linear regression first, doesn't really matter. And then do our graph. Now notice I kept my thing highlighted and it did both of them for me. And let's make this one a different color. How about red? And so now if we look at this one, and again, this one has a slightly different, it's pretty close to the green one though, isn't it? So they're pretty similar. So that's something you may not have seen. And if you zone in here, is there a point of intersection? Those types of things are what we're looking at. What's the rate of change for these? This one's not rate of change. What's the unit rate for these? All of these types of decisions are easier to see and make, and you can zoom in at intersection points. And I think there is an intersection that is on both of them. No, can't. Maybe not. Pretty close though. So those are the kind of things they're going to be doing. So it's not as simple as, oh, this one because I'm going to pay less. It's what's your goal long term? How long do you want to have it? Which plan would be better for long term? Which plan's better for a short term? These kind of things, because you can do different representations with the proportional reasoning, you can make some better decisions.